What's up, guys? Me, Alexander Jarvis from alexanderjarvis.com. This is the 8th video on the e-commerce financial model. In this video, we're going to be going through the cohort build. And the last video we went through the expense calcs. The next one we're dealing with the SKUs. So let's run through the cohort build. So this is basically an engine for calculating your customers, your forecast, and how much revenue is going to come from them. So there's not very much that you actually need to fill in. Some of the calculations may seem a little bit complicated, because they are in a way, but I've done all the work. And so when you look at how big the sheet is versus how many assumptions you need to put in, I did the work, I did the thinking for you. So don't stress out too much about it, just follow it, what I'm going to explain to you, and actually use it, and you'll understand it even better. So as usual, links come in here, and the link assumptions, we've got the summary stuff. So you can see like customers' orders, items sold, revenues, costs, average order values, all that good stuff to make sure it makes sense. Now we've got the assumptions here is what we actually care about. So you can see all the yellow boxes in this sheet, like that's all you need to deal with. And then bear in mind there's like 1,065 calculation rows. Like I did this for you. Thank you. So let's get into this now. So in the marketing sheets, we're going to generate traffic. Okay. This traffic in the marketing sheet is going to turn into registrations on your site with a conversion rate here, 9%, okay? And then we can see here that the implied conversion rate from traffic to paid, 16%, 18%, is this, okay? This cohort build is going to help that conversion rates here. So this sheet is going to deal with turning registrations on your site, people that gave you email have an intent to buy, into customers. So first thing we're going to be just dealing with is, do you have consignment stock? So as a percentage of your COGS, what cost is that? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? If you do not have consignment, it's 0. Okay, so you just set this to 0. And there's no cost associated with this. Okay, that's mainly as we deal with your profit and loss statement. So if you don't deal with consignment, this is not a concern for you. We figured out here from what our weighted unit prices are for both a unique, new and a repeat basis. So how many items per order do you have? Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 5? Do people buy lots of stuff? You need to know already what those numbers are. So I have a differentiation between your first order and your repeat orders. Okay? So we're going to generate traffic, they're going to register, and then we're going to convert those people into customers. Now, those customers will hopefully, from the importance of your business, order again, because most people don't really make profit on the first order. They generate from repeat orders. If you are profitable on your first order, fantastic, congratulations, but you will hopefully be needing to get repeat customers. So I don't know, like there's mattress companies, they have to be profitable because how many freaking mattresses are you going to buy? Their items, their items per user is going to be something like maybe 1.1 possibly, but typically you probably assume it's going to be 1. So you can build some logic as being a difference between your first order and repeat orders, because I don't know you, especially if they came through paid marketing. If they came through socials or my friend recommended it to you, maybe I know about you, and therefore I already trust you. But once I've ordered for you and I can see liver value, that like if you're selling t-shirts, like, oh fuck, this cotton's really good. I love this like La Martina polo shirts, right? Which are like, seriously, they're like 3 times the price in Argentina as they are in London. Seriously, like it's like 150 pounds in London versus like 50 in Argentina. It's crazy. Anyway, once I like your brand, I say, hey, it's great quality Pima cotton. Maybe I just order a shirt to see if I like it, but then I'm like, do you know what? Staples are great, like Uniqlo, great quality products once you know it, right? In which case, it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna order 20 pairs of underwear. And so my first order might only have 1 item per basket just to see if the underwear good or the t-shirt's good. But my next order could be 20 because it's great, right? It's obviously going to vary very much between businesses. So that's why you can have differences between your first and your repeat. Now, this is because I know this because it was hard for me to figure out. Probably something that's going to seem confusing to you. Okay, so the model comes out in cohorts, which hopefully this is going to be a cohort. Okay, this is what you call a cohort. Okay, so we see month 1 to 36, which is 3 years. So this goes across over time, right? So 10, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, or 2, 2, 7, because we're getting bigger, goes across. Okay, but also goes down. This is called a cohort, right? And so what we're going to say is in, I don't know, month 1, which is April 2017, I'm going to spend 10 grand, okay? Out of that, I'm going to get 16,666 7 registrations. Now, that's a cohort for that month. The second cohort is the same because I'm spending the same amount of money, okay? This is like the 5th, 6th, 12th cohort, okay? Then I'm going to model from that. This is important to understand, especially if you don't know a lot about modeling, okay? But we're going to treat each month as its own row, which is why when you look at that cohort thing, we have here like 12 months for one person, for 1 month, right? And it goes down, which is why we end up with all of these. And then here, at the end of the model, is only 1 month for one person, okay? Now, now that we've acquired those 16,667 people, they've registered on the site. Now, just because I've registered doesn't necessarily I'm going to buy right now. Maybe I need you to send me some emails, right? And they're like, oh, that's quirky. Maybe I do like that little dress, which, you know, little black thing, which I'm going to buy. Cool. Now, if every single one of customers, because it's like an impulse buy, I don't know, like pup socks, you print pretty pictures of dogs and socks and like, this is awesome, I'm going to buy that, but maybe never again, in which case your repeat order rate is 0. You would say that 100% of my registered users are impulse buys and they buy in the first month. Okay, so now suddenly see this cohort. The conversion rate of weighted average, whatever that number is, to call it 16-17%. That 16,000 is converting into this 240 numbers. Okay, on the paid basis. They all convert in the first month, but that might not be the case. It might take you 3 months. In this case, I'm saying it's going to take me 7 months from my January cohort for everyone to eventually decide to buy from that acquisition cost, which you're appending on there. Okay, it's not really necessary factoring retargeting costs, etc. This is so complicated, and you don't have the data. We're just not going there. I have considered all these things. We're just not going there. Okay, well, you can't go there. It's more the point. Okay, or maybe you say, do you know what? Like, I sell a really expensive product. Like, I don't know. My Royal Diver Panerai watch, okay? Royal Oak, sorry, Royal fucking Panerai. Royal Oak, what, I'm gonna stop talking now. This is my 8th video in a row. So, you can say maybe it's actually really low and it takes a lot of time, right? So 10, then 15, and then 20. But you want the that number to end up at 100%, okay? Because then your total cohort from January has eventually made that person's decision, and it can go on over time, okay? So let's just say, on this basis, we're going to say expensive product, need to build trust for something, 15% buy. But everyone will be done with 3 months, and then we'll get a 50%. And in the 3rd month, everyone will go, okay? So we'll see there's 3 rows. So for my cohort, it takes 3 months for that entire people to make that purchasing decision because we've got intent. Okay, and it's on a basis of percentage of those registrations. Okay, I promise you, it's not as complicated as maybe I'm making it seem to be. Once you play with it, you'll start getting your head around it more. Okay, so now we have what percentage of those registrations, which we generate in the marketing sheet. Where am I? Are actually going to return to customers. And so we're saying for the paid people, 16% will. You could say 100%. Fuck, everyone who signs up, like, love my fidget spinner. Okay, right? So implied conversion rate is 9.3%. Everyone from my earned is a freaking customer, which also is a way to simplify your funnel if you want to. I keep giving you opportunities to try and do what you want. And bear in mind, I'm trying to cover lots of business models. And so it's been pretty hard for me to figure out how can I try and encapsulate things and maybe make it easier for you to do something simple, or if you have next level knowledge, to be able to factor in more complicated funnels. So again, like just because something's here doesn't mean you have to use it. I've had to try and figure out how to accommodate different levels of knowledge and different business models to be able to offer you to be able to do these things, okay? So just because an assumption's here doesn't mean you have to use it. So this, assuming people register, and that's your funnel traffic registration trial to paid, it's not going to be 100%, okay? Not everyone's going to buy just because they give you your email. You can always just skip the traffic to registration period and go straight from 100% traffic to your customers, and then change that from whatever rate it is, depending on how you want to work your funnel. So you could say on my experience, it's 16%, 18%. So my assumption is because if it's earned media, which just means social media, recommendations, email marketing, something where they've had experience with you, they're more likely to pay. So look at this. I mean, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, you've been reading my my blog. I've got a fucking YouTube, TikTok channel now, which is Pitch Deck. If you look on TikTok, I've got like 40 videos up now or something. The fact that you've had an interaction with me means you're more likely to buy because you have an experience with me. You may not like the way that I curse or whatever it is, like I got an ugly ass face. But the fact that you have some experience with me makes you more likely to pay, if that's the logic, okay? So here, it's 16% versus 18%, because either you watched a video with me or your friend told you about it, maybe you're more likely to buy. Maybe you're less likely to buy because you're like, Alex is a douchebag, right? In which case, you know, it's less than the paid, because who wants to listen to this guy? But you have that option to do it if you want, okay? And you can see the incremental rates, which I've hidden, but again, if you're a nerd, you'll figure this stuff out. So we're going to get people, and these people are going to convert over time, okay? So we'll see here, 15% of that 16% equals 2.4, 50% of the 16 is 8, 100% equals 16. So we're going to take the incremental rate and apply it to these numbers. So we see here, because 50% are coming on this month, right? Which is half of the difference between here, about 120, right? There's a lot coming on. Whereas this was, say, 50%, 75%, 100%. This is basically 50, 25, 25. So you see 120, 60, 60, half, quarter, quarter, right? Again, like if you play with this yourself, it'll hopefully make it more simple. Maybe you do understand it, I don't know. Now, the last part of this, which I alluded to in one of the previous videos, and I had this girl reach out to me who seemed really smart actually, or on the ball, and wanted to know, like, hey Alex, what's the difference between this? And it was a really good question she asked, and the fact that she's asking means I want to make sure I do it with you. Okay, so we have traffic, register, people pay. Now, those people will hopefully buy again, a certain percentage of them, but some people will just leave because they had a bad experience. They don't like you, they moved on, they go to, I don't know, they like Uniqlo, now they go to Ralph Lauren, or maybe they go to Prada, or whatever it is. But they churn too. So again, you have the option of doing these things. So what is the repurchase rate on a cohort basis over time? So this thing, this line applies here, in order, in here, in order. So this will be linked to here. This will be linked to here. This will be linked to here. And then here will be like somewhere here. Here will be here. The second row will be here. So it transposes across, okay? Logic. This is going to apply to everyone. I thought about or tried to do more complicated stuff. I think this is already enough for you, but just I considered a lot of things. So we have a repeat purchase rate here. These are the percentage of that cohort who are going to buy every month. And so you can do some interesting things here. So you can assume that actually it starts out low, but as people like you more, the repeat purchase rate of your cohort will increase over time. But at the same time, we're going to lose people in that cohort. So let me explain this first to you then. How many lifetimes in years, right? Because it's stable. This means perpetuity, 2.1, 2.1. So we'll see at the end, it should be 2.1. Okay, 2.1, perpetuity. Okay. Churn, losing people within that cohort, 2% on this basis of 4 years, 2.1%, which means if we have 100 people sign up in January, 2.1 of them are going to be gone by February. So we'll have 97.9 people within our January cohort in February. and that will continue going on. And what you could say is, do you know what, we're going to suck balls at the start, so we're going to lose 5.2 people, or 5.2%. This is going to decrease until our steady state churn rate of 2.1% after, I'm guessing, something like 12 months here, right? Is it? Yeah, 12 months. Boom, bitches. God, the things that make me happy. So we have this 4-year steady state rate, which we can inflate if you want to. If you don't, again, you can delete this, so it's all 2.1. It's a simpler assumption if you want, but you can make an argument that we'll get better over time, or we lose the flaky people. And so you can balance out your repeat purchase rates, which here are currently increasing, whereas this is inflating, then decreasing to steady state, to balance out different assumptions if you want. And so if you're a little bit lost, that's fine, but that's kind of a little bit the point, is that you can choose how you want to play around with things depending on how you think about your business, if you think about it. Now, if you're looking at me and you're just thinking like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? You need to figure out this stuff out, because this is actually related to your business. Like, what is going to happen? Churn rates versus repurchase rates. Are they worse at the beginning? Do they get better over time? Like, how does this actually play out? Because these are things you probably don't think about. And this is what, I've said before, is one of the things that a lot of people find value with this model, is it forces you to think about like weird shit that you didn't possibly think about before. And like, that is actually value for you. So consider these things. And then when you have a conversation with an investor, if you're fundraising, like, you can blow their fragile little minds with the fact that you really know your shit, okay? The fact that maybe this stuff is just like a bit overwhelming for you, that painful feeling just means that it's a learning opportunity for you to get better, okay? And by the way, if you find something like you don't like the logic of how I've done something, and maybe you're really good at this stuff, hey, give me feedback and I'm happy to improve it. But I spent a long time thinking about this, or a lot of these things, and bearing in mind the restrictions of how e-commerce works and multivariable calculations, this is about the most that I can go forward with. And do bear in mind, this model was based on the model which a startup I invested in made. I just pimped it out to the max. So this is like 10 times better than what they built, and they got funded on that, and they've raised like 50 million so far. So mine is like even better. So like, oh, I don't know. Trust me, this is like 10 times better than the model that at least originally was used for the early rounds that companies raised 50 million bucks is used. So this is pretty detailed, to the point that most venture capital investors will not even be able to understand it. So you can go through, let's ungroup this, and you can see how like freaking it goes through, okay? It does all, and then we take this from the actual sheet, by the way. Here, it's that 50 number comes down here, or at the bottom, 50, okay? Cohort build again, okay? And we see cohorts. If you go towards the end, you can see how it's working again, right? So this is, we have the most for January, or whatever that month is, April, because it happens, right? Whereas in 3 years' time, the model's only 3 years, so we only have 1 month for these plucky guys. This has not been factored in before. But it does lots and lots of calculations. So this model is detailed, lets you do a lot of funky calculations. And it took me a long time. I mean, months. So at the bottom, we have charts, which you'll see a lot faster if you just group the whole thing up to one. And we can see the calculations here. So we'll see the assumptions, calculations, metrics, graphs. So all grouped up. And then once you've pulled on the numbers, you can review these assumptions, the summaries at the top if you want. That should give you a good idea of what's going on. If something doesn't quite look right, here is a good place to play with. But the cohort build is most linked to the marketing sheet in terms of how big order of magnitude numbers will be based on how much money you're going to spend and how much traffic you can generate. Your revenue numbers are going to be linked to your SKU sheet based on how much you sell stuff for. Okay? So one of the most insightful, beneficial learning points you'll do if you really follow the model that you have now is learning how the drivers interact. Okay, how do you increase revenue? How do you decrease costs? How do you increase or decrease profitability in order to generate more growth? So all these things come to play, and if you really go through this model, you will understand every meaningful driver for your business at least from a financial modeling point of view. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to tell you how landing page optimization conversion rates work, but if you do, you can decide, for example, like, I don't know, in the marketing sheet, that the conversion rate from traffic to registration will be higher because at this point in month whatever 13 or something, you have a 0.5% bump because of changing the color from orange, which is meant to be the best, to purple, and for some reason it works. So this model will give you a lot of opportunity to do things, but the cohort build is a couple of assumptions which are not simple to get your head around at the start, but you will once you play with it, assuming you understand your business. There's a lot of calculations involved in this sheet, and so this is probably the biggest sheet in the model with the least number of assumptions that you need to put in. Okay, that's 8 videos done in one sitting. So the next video we're going to be doing is the SKU sheet, which is dealing with stock keeping units, which are going to be calculating the types of products you sell on average, your sales prices, repeat purchase rates, etc., which are going to be also linked to this cohort sheet and part of generating revenue for your business. Keep hustling, guys. Bye.